grounded and centered in the body, in the present moment, kind of in touch with the nervous system, because that's where the mind operates. And the next foundations of mindfulness are actually about the mental phenomena, about mindfulness of feelings, mindfulness of the mind, and the mindfulness of the Dhamma, or other aspects of the mind, but the teachings of the Dhamma, which are within the mind. So that's why the mindfulness of the body is considered to be the, is used for the first stage of gaining concentration and connection to the body. Now, some people think that the 4 foundations of mindfulness, we just choose one and practice one, or it doesn't matter, or, which one you start with. But, the Buddha was very clear that he started with the breathing and the body, and there's purposes of that. And some people say, the body, that's too elemental. I just want to go right to the mind. Well, lots of luck. And a lot of people they think they're going to go directly to the mind and observe their mind, but then they realize it's not that easy, and eventually, okay, I'll come back to the body. But it's very profound. The Buddha said that even mindfulness of the body by itself, even if you only practice mindfulness of the body, you could achieve enlightenment through that. But anyway, so this evening we're going to. Last week we also mentioned the second foundation of mindfulness, or the contemplation of feelings. Now, we saw how the term feeling in English is actually kind of not really the same word as the term Vedana in the Pali language. So it's Vedanusati, the mindfulness of Vedana. And basically that means the pleasant and painful or neutral sensations that are triggered off through contact. And so the idea of feelings, when people say, I feel bad, I feel happy, I feel sad, these are emotions. These are not Vedana. They are emotional states, or sankharas, that we'll get to later. But they do have, they're considered to be unpleasant or painful states. So they do have that connotation of, some of them are pleasant states, like the emotion of being happy, okay? That's because it produces a pleasurable feeling in ourselves. And then, being sad is a kind of a painful state. So it is a painful feeling, but people confuse it with the emotion itself. So that's why the contemplation of feelings is a very important part of understanding the mental process. And the Vedana is one of the 5 aggregates, is actually the second aggregate out of the 5 aggregates: form, feeling, perception, volition, and consciousness. Vedana is the second one of feeling. But I prefer to use the term sensation, because basically that's actually what you're feeling is a kind of a sensation. It's a vibration of the nervous system. Whenever something touches your eye, ear, nose, tongue, body, or even thought in the mind, it basically is a vibration in the nervous system. And then the mind remembers that vibration from the past conditioning and identifies it as being this or that kind of an object. And we'll get into that later. But so the mindfulness of the feelings, of these sensations are, they're coming through the nervous system. And that's why only when you're grounded and centered in the body, it's like you have a front row seat then to observe these sensations. And normally we react to the sensations immediately. We never watch sensations really. The average person, doesn't watch sensations. They just react. Like, if all of a sudden you get a stinging or a biting sensation on your face or an itch, immediately you want to reach up and scratch it or to get rid of it. So that's an unpleasant feeling. Even before you've understood what it is, often that sensation is the first thing you react to. So the unpleasant sensation or pleasant sensation, or a neutral sensation. So in the Buddha's description of the Vedanusati, those three types of sensation feelings are pleasant feeling, painful feeling, and neutral feeling. Now, the painful and the pleasant feelings are the ones we react to the most. And the feelings that, the sensations that generate our reactions and thoughts and cause us to do actions. And basically, these are just, habit reactions that we are reacting to whenever we feel a pleasant or painful feeling. And so the attention to feelings is where we can begin to change the way we react to things. And by being able to observe the feeling and to observe how it's affecting our mind. Let's say, like all of a sudden you get a pain, a pain somewhere on your head or anywhere, or an unpleasant feeling. And then you see that urge to want to get rid of it. So the pleasant feeling causes aversion to arise. That means the desire to get away from this unpleasant feeling. And if it's a pleasant feeling, let's say if it's a sound of a bird chirping in the morning and, oh, what kind of a bird is that? Or it could be anything, so many things. So the sensations are what the initial attraction of the mind towards something you see, hear, taste, smell, touch, and even what you think about. Because a thought can come into your mind, like remembering some horrible thing that happened to you that creates a painful feeling. And, people, then that causes other reactions to come up. So in the meditation on feelings, when you're centered and grounded in the body and hopefully have attained at least the first jhanic concentration, maybe not that strong enough, but at least some degree of concentration, where you're no longer moving around and getting lost in your thoughts. The mind becomes clear and focused, so it can observe these sensations without overly reacting. And you can kind of feel a pain arising, and you can alert yourself, pain's arising now. And then observe what it's doing in the mind. You can tell yourself to relax. Okay, don't react, just observe. Because we have to remind ourselves to, because otherwise we just immediately start reacting and so on. So that's why the concentration is important. It creates a buffer zone between the observing awareness and the object that you're observing, in this case, a painful or pleasant sensation. And it gives you a few brief moments to consider, do I need to react to this or not? And you can see what is this doing to the mind? You can see that wanting to get rid of the painful feeling or the desire to hold on to the pleasant feeling. Even in meditation, many of you, during the meditation, you might feel some nice, pleasant feelings in the mind. The feelings in the body might get very light, and the mind stops worrying about things, and you start to feel a pleasant feeling. Well, that's a pleasant feeling. And then you can see the mind hoping that, I hope that stays longer. You want to try to hold on to that feeling longer. And then, eventually it goes away. So anyway, you contemplate that all these feelings are, they're They arise because of contact. We're not inviting them to come. Because of contact, they arise. And we learn to observe them and observe the reactions or thoughts they're triggering off in our mind. And then try not to immediately react to them, especially with unpleasant feelings, like to endure pain, to be able to observe itches or scratchy feelings, biting sensations, other types of unpleasant sensations you can feel on the body. There's, a multitude of them. Almost every second, there's some kind of, even the clothing rubbing against your skin, little itchy bite sensations all over. I mean, normally we don't notice those because we're engaged in external preoccupation in our ordinary waking state. But when you're more focused and sitting in meditation, then these stand out more because your mind isn't distracted, especially if you've weakened the hindrances and you've attained some good concentration. Then you see these sensations much more clearly. And then you can also see how they change. If you don't react, they're constantly changing. They build up in intensity, or they fade away, and they may come back, and you can observe the mind, how it wants to, relieve that discomfort, and you can tell yourself, no, just, this is doable, just relax, and you relax around it, and you learn how to, but by not reacting to it, it doesn't seem that painful anymore. And you can kind of just endure it longer in the background. But if you start thinking about the pain and the cause of it and so on, then you might not be able to maintain that detachment. So it's the main part of these sensations is to see how they cause you to, the mind gets trapped in them. I mean, almost all of our activities, from the moment we get up in the morning to go to sleep, there's these painful and pleasant sensations, and neutral ones too, but it's the painful ones, probably the painful ones that we make the most karma about. And the pleasant ones, we create a lot of karma because of desire. We develop desire and craving for pleasurable feeling, and we have aversion and anger or hatred toward unpleasant feeling or unpleasant sensations, because we identify it with certain objects. So the meditation on feelings is the Buddha is saying in the instructions, when a painful feeling arises, the meditator understands this is an unpleasant feeling. And he understands, how does this unpleasant feeling arise? How does it continue? And how does it cease? Or it observes a pleasurable feeling arising, and it understands now a pleasant feeling is arising, sensation. How does this pleasant sensation arise? How does it continue? And how does it cease? And so this is part of the right understanding, the clear comprehension. It's just not understanding that they're there, it's understanding how do they arise, how do they continue, because we keep paying attention to them. And we keep reinforcing the idea that these things are bad and I don't like them. And that is the way they continue, and that's how they gain strength. And how do they cease? By learning to just observe these sensations without reacting, and then understand how they're just conditioned, they're programmed into us by our, past habits since our childhood. And that, we create all kinds of karma, and suffering arises out of this strong attachment. And basically we cannot control these painful and pleasant sensations. They arise from a cause and they cease. When the cause is vanished, then they cease. But it's mainly to try to develop an equanimity toward them so that the mind can remain in its concentrated state and not always wanting to get rid of especially the unpleasant sensations. Because most people spend a great deal of their life just trying to avoid unpleasant sensations that have arisen, or the thought that they might arise again in the future. You're worrying about these painful sensations arising, again, through any of the sense objects. And to know that we don't have to react to all these things, but they really dominate our life. And so to develop equanimity. So equanimity is that even-mindedness that's resting in the middle, and it's not going out to unpleasant sensations and trying to change them or get rid of them. And it's not going out to pleasurable feelings, trying to hold them on or seek them out. And it's just, seeing how quickly they just arise and vanish if we don't cling to them. It's the clinging that causes our mind for the problems and the suffering to arise, reinforcing the idea that, I have to have that pleasurable feeling, and the objects that are connected to the pleasurable feelings. Actually, all these feelings are connected to an object. And this is the perception. And actually, all these vibrations, the Buddha was really like a scientist. Because if you ask most scientists even today, how our brain operates, or when you hear a sound, what you're hearing is just a sound vibration going from the ear through the nervous system to the brain, where it then goes into its memory and it matches up that sound vibration and says, that's mama talking or daddy talking, or that's a cat meowing, that's the dog barking, that's a plane flying overhead. Now, those are perceptions, those are mental pictures or words created out of essentially just an amorphous vibration or this feeling. And that's what's very important to understand, this connection between the feeling and then immediately the perception and then the thoughts that are generated through the perception. And so, usually we think that we like or dislike objects. Everybody has objects that they like or don't like. Certain types of food, certain sounds, smells, tastes, body sensations, and even thoughts. So everything that's coming through the senses, since we were a baby, we've been dividing these things into these certain sensations are pleasant sensations, and so therefore I like them. And these other sensations are unpleasant sensations, painful sensations, and I don't like them. I want to get away from them. But again, normally we don't see the sensation. We're focused on the object that the sensation sort of triggered off. But it's actually the sensation that we are reacting to, not the object. This is very important to understand. A lot of people don't make that connection, but it's one of the most important aspects of the mind to understand how illusion is created. So we think we like an object, but it's actually the feeling that the object gives us that we like and that we want. The most common example is with relationships. So, we've met a lot of people, throughout our life. And some people may give you a pleasant sensation, especially, if it's, you develop some special, more intimate relationship with certain persons. As long as that person is producing a pleasurable feeling in you, like saying, oh, you're so beautiful or handsome and this and that, intelligent. And so they're, pushing all your right buttons as though they create a pleasurable feeling in you. So you say, I like that person. You have common interests and so on. You like to do things together. So, but then that person might start to change, or you might start to change. And you see that person looking at somebody else, and then you feel that pain in the heart because another person might lose their interest in you, and your relationships break up. Because that person is no longer producing a pleasurable feeling in you. Now they're producing a painful feeling because they're losing interest in you, or they're looking at somebody else, or for whatever reason. Maybe the guy got in a car crash and they got all mutilated and they're no longer beautiful or whatever, and you might lose the interest. There's so many things, a multitude of things, affect that. But the point is that we think it's the object that we want or like, but actually it's the feeling that the object produces in us that we crave. Now, when the object stops producing the feeling, we lose interest in the object, and then we get rid of it, whether it's a painful feeling or a pleasant feeling. And this is very important to understand. We think it's the object that we want. No, we want the sensation. We want the pleasurable sensation or the painful sensation. And at this point, I usually tell, in my own case, my famous avocado story, because it illustrates this. I was very attached to and cling to my idea about avocados. So when I was young, I hated avocados. I lived in California. I don't know why I didn't like them, but my mother used to make me eat them a couple of times a week, with the salad, like a good mother would do, right? But for some reason, I hated avocados, and they caused me a lot of mental suffering. And just hearing my mother would say, okay, we lived in an avocado orchard, actually, in Southern California. And so we could go and actually pick up the avocados that fell on the ground. But just hearing that my mother said, oh, we're having avocados tonight with a salad, a shiver went up my spine, like, oh no, not avocados again. And I started worrying about it. So just hearing the word avocado gave an unpleasant feeling. And then when my mother actually brought the avocados to the table and I saw them, another unpleasant kind of, hair-raising kind of sensation, went up my spine. And then when I had to, bring them actually closer to the mouth and smell or put it in the mouth and start to chew it, I would have like a gag reflex. So I suffered in 5 ways, thinking that these avocados were bad or evil. Just hearing the word, seeing it, smelling it, tasting it. There was one sense that didn't bother me. Now, if I rubbed the avocado on my arm, I wouldn't have any kind of unpleasant sensation. But 5 ways I suffered, thinking that because of these unpleasant sensation, that it was causing me. Now, if avocados were evil, everybody would experience them in the same way. But my mother and my father and my brother, they loved avocados. They were wolfing them down. And I had to sit and stare at my plate. And we had a cat. Fortunately, for some reason, he seemed to like avocados. So I used to put them under the table at dinner time. And when my parents weren't looking, I'd put a piece of avocado down under the table and the cat would eat it. And then we couldn't watch television. This was back in the late 50s, early 60s, when you only had one TV in the house, and in the den. And so we couldn't watch TV until we finished dinner. And my brother and father and mother, they would finish the dinner and go watch TV, and I'd be sitting at the table. And then I would feed the rest of the food to the cat under the table, the avocados. And then I would take it and show my mom, look, Ma, I finished my dinner. And she would say, good little boy. But what did I do? I told a lie to my mother. I mean, my gosh, I lied to my mother. What kind of karma is that? So the whole point is that clinging to our ideas that avocado or anything is good or bad, clinging to it causes us to do actions like to lie, cheat, steal, kill, plunder, clinging to the idea that all these different objects are going to somehow bring us happiness, or that we want them or like them, but actually it's just the sensation that we're craving. So anyway, later I could change my attitude toward avocados. When I started meditating and when I was in India and living in the yoga ashram, the teacher was extolling the virtues of avocados, saying how it's one of the best fruits and all that. So I said, I'm going to change my mind about avocados. I'm going to see if this Dhamma works. And so I sat down, and over a few weeks, I forced myself to eat the avocados, and finally began, not having an adverse reaction to them. And then little by little, I started liking them. And now I love them, but I'm not attached to them. But anyway, I'm just saying this to show how this idea about the painful and the pleasant ideas, the sensations, that every object creates some kind of a sensation in us. And it could be a neutral object, but we don't create too much karma around the neutral objects. It's mainly the ones we react to with attachment or aversion, and then create some karma around, maybe breaking precepts around them, or just developing addictions. So that's why this contemplation of feelings is a very important aspect about understanding our mind, and especially how the sensation, the sensation arising like a sound vibration. Basically, they're just vibrations, a sound vibration, visible vibration on the eye, but it's the mind in its conditioning with language. Ever since we're a baby learning language, you've connected certain words with objects, and those objects are connected with some kind of experience, a painful or pleasant or neutral experience. And most people become hardwired in that kind of conditioning, because we've never thought about it, and no one's ever told us how to reverse that process. So that's why the contemplation of feelings, it's about learning how that these sensations are just empty within themselves. It's only when we start identifying them as being an object that they cause us so much suffering. Now it's true, like I don't think anybody in the world thinks that the sensation of a toothache is pleasant. So, universally, or maybe having, serious pains, pains coming from cancer or other diseases, or, really heavy things. So, okay, they are painful, but most people are very pain intolerant. And so they want to remove any type of unpleasant sensation immediately. And they're always seeking more and more comfort. And then they're becoming dependent on things that relieve their pain, like, pills and so many other types of things that then, have their own compounded problems. But especially in meditation, when we meditate, most of the discomforts, like pains from sitting too long, or especially itches and stinging and biting sensations, none of those are going to really hurt you or kill you. And they're very useful for strengthening your mindfulness and developing equanimity and the ability to understand impermanence. That if you don't pay attention to these sensations or thoughts, they'll vanish very quickly, and you'll be noticing something else. So that's why the training to endure and observe how these sensations are just vibrations coming through the nervous system, but they're connected with some objects of our experience. And so the perceptions, that's why they trigger off all of our thoughts are triggered off from these sensations, our perceptions and thoughts. And that will be the next category of the third foundation of mindfulness is mental states. But I think I'm going to, sort of stop here with this section on the Vedana and the feeling, because really it's, a lot of people think it's just, learning to endure pain and so on, but it's that is a main part of it, but it's about seeing how basically, our whole life revolves around reacting to painful and pleasant sensations. You get a phone call and you hear some unpleasant words from the other end, like, one of your friends just got killed in an accident or something, or put in jail, and immediately the mind gets thrown into a tizzy and, gets worried, and, it's just, it's just a sound. But, we connect it with, these circumstances and objects, and then we identify them back to ourself. And that's what actually creates the mental suffering. So there's a difference between pain and suffering. Pain is a given, and that means just these unpleasant sensations that are going to be arising and passing away all the time. But suffering is optional. Suffering is the reaction to the pain or the pleasure. That means clinging on to it, not wanting it to disappear. So when you cling on to a pleasurable feeling, not wanting it to go away, it's going to go away. And then you suffer. So even pleasurable sensations cause suffering indirectly because they're impermanent. And that's also an important part of understanding this contemplation of the feelings, the sensations that are, triggered off by all, 6 senses, including the mind. We have pleasant memories, painful memories, and all the other sensory impressions. And learning to how they're connected with the past and the future. And they're basically just habits. And that you can actually intervene and change the habit, but only through mindfulness and not reacting to that sensation as it arises, or not reacting to the thought that arises, and seeing how it'll just vanish out of the mind if you don't give it undue attention. And there's always something else coming. Anyway, so I think I'm going to stop here and then see if there's any questions about any of that. And I see Walter has a golden hand raised there. So Walter, what is your question?
So I had to laugh about your avocado story because I grew up in Southern California about the same time you did. Hated avocados and was forced to eat them, but I still ate avocados. But my question is, there's never a moment where we're not experiencing a Vedana, right? We experience them every moment we're alive. Pleasant. We may not be conscious of them, but every moment we're alive, we have a pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral feeling, right?
Yeah.
Just wanted to be.
Oh, yeah, I mean, from the moment you're born, even the baby going to experience painful feelings coming out of the womb. If the doctor puts his forceps on the head and pulls it out, or whatever, comes into the bright lights of a hospital room and so on. That's why the baby probably cries. But he doesn't really know what's going on at that point. But these are just sort of instinctual, reactions. But later, as we grow up, then they're connected with, the various objects that we come into contact with. But yeah, sensations are always, there's, millions of them going through the body and mind all the time. So they go under the radar. We don't notice them, or we don't, because we don't know about them. But anytime you have a reaction, attraction to something, like maybe you're you're hot on a hot day, you got a dry throat. Then you think, oh, let me go get a cold soda or ice cream. That'd be nice. So that's a pleasurable feeling comes to your mind. Wanting a pleasurable feeling to replace a painful feeling. So that's happening all the time. You're sitting too long in one spot, you change your posture because you want to remove that painful feeling and you want to get a more comfortable, pleasurable feeling. But we keep on doing that hundreds and thousands of times a day, but most of it goes on underneath the radar. We're not really aware that it's happening. So that's why the Buddha wanted us to, make that an object of our mindfulness, so that we can gradually change our the ways we react to things, and and be able to maintain a more relaxed and centered state without all this neurotic reaction and excitement that comes through pleasurable and painful, reacting to painful and pleasant sensations. Okay. Dragon Yogi, you have a question?
Yes, thank you, Bhante. The question had to do with the contemplating or how to incorporate contemplation, worldly sensations, and say the sensations like from renunciation, feelings.
Yes, that is a part of the contemplation of feelings, is understanding this is a worldly feeling or this is an unworldly feeling. So there's worldly pleasurable feelings and worldly painful feelings are the things brought from the physical world, the sense organs. A non-worldly pleasant feeling would be like the piti and the sukha that comes through gaining concentration. When you meditate, these sublime mental sensations that are not coming from outside, they're coming from within the vibration of awareness of the present moment, which is itself is a pleasant sensation because it's free of desire or aversion. The pure vibration of the present moment awareness. And so when you contact that, when you start feeling that more in yourself, that's that's considered a non-worldly pleasurable feeling. And what is a non-worldly painful feeling? Now, the way it's described in the commentaries is that, let's say a person has been meditating for a long time, maybe, a long time, many years, but they're not making as quick a progress as they might have hoped. And so they're starting to feel sad, or maybe they're starting to feel like, having doubts and so on. So that's considered a kind of non-worldly painful feeling that it comes through mainly, kind of being spiritually unfulfilled. Learning to, yearning for the truth, but not being able to get your hands on it. And so, anyway, that's one of the meanings of the non-worldly painful feeling.
What about like
As opposed to somebody stabbing with you a knife, that's a worldly painful feeling.
like generosity.
Yeah, the happiness that you come from practicing sila, samadhi, and panya, because you're free of guilt, worry, remorse, and fear when you practice, generosity, when you practice non-harming, when you practice the precepts.
Yeah.
You're no longer looking over your shoulder, who's going to find out, who's going to catch you, or having this craving that you don't have. Oh, I must have this, I must have that.
Okay.
So, yeah.
How do we incorporate that into our practice?
Well,
in the contemplation.
by understanding that. I mean, next time you get into a good state of meditation where you feel the pleasurable feeling, like, oh, I wish this would go on forever, that's because of a pleasurable feeling. No one wants painful feelings to go on forever, but you want pleasurable feelings to go on forever. So you would just say, this is a worldly pleasurable feeling. And you understand what caused this, because I gained concentration. That's what caused it.
Ah,
You see?
okay,
That's why
okay.
it's important to understand, how do these feelings arise, how do they persist, and how do they cease. That's an
Mhm.
important part of all of these contemplations in the Sutra on mindfulness. But a lot of
Okay.
people don't go into that. Or the popular idea of, practicing mindfulness, it doesn't really go into that development of the clear comprehension. But
Thank you, Bhante.
it adds a, a another dimension to it.
That was my question. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Okay, Damon, you have a
Okay.
question?
Yeah. Um, Tonight when we meditate, maybe the breath or the body sensation, maybe I can't concentrate. And I think, okay, you told us we can switch. Sometimes there's many ways to meditate. And we could start doing a thought meditation about loving kindness. Uh, Now, is that too discursive? Uh, or is that okay as a possible time? One more object. If we just can't get the breath or the body on a particular night, we can switch to a thought meditation, like, oh, how wonderful it is to know the Dhamma, and just start thinking about that.
It may be all right, but at some point you got to come back and get out of the thinking and go into pure awareness, develop pure concentration and
Okay.
mindfulness. But sometimes we can use the intellectual understanding, like in this sutra, in fact, understanding how does a painful feeling arise, how does it continue, how does it cease. That's a kind of a discursive, intellectual kind of process. But once you've gained insight on it, well, you've understood it, then the thoughts will vanish, and the mind will again drop into more silence.
Okay.
But uh, but really, there's no reason why you shouldn't be able to develop concentration on the breathing or the body. I mean, you have it all the time with you; it's always there, and you just have to practice more.
Yeah, well, I mean, either you or sometimes you read, in the other Theravadan teachers, they talk about, oh, people find the breath is too boring. I'm not doing enough with my mind.
And do three-part breathing. That's not boring.
That's
If you
true.
develop
Yeah. Right.
three-part breathing, that's not boring.
Right.
It's
Right.
wonderful if you
You
do it
give
properly.
if you do it properly. Okay, great.
That's
Thank
why
you.
at the start of every meditation, I encourage people in the yoga to do some deep, slow breathing, to do some stretching with it, develop these pleasurable feelings in the body, these sensations.
Mm,
And then the
excellent.
mind will, that won't be boring. Once you learn how to tune into that by using the breathing and some stretching, and to learn how to tune into that, that's how you overcome boredom. At least that's
So are you saying actually it could even be like the most enjoyable thing to do, right?
absolutely
All right. I'm gonna
one of
try.
them. I mean,
Right.
to a certain extent, yes.
I mean, we shouldn't be meditating more and enjoying it less, according to
No,
you,
you should be
right?
meditating less and enjoying it more.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Suzanne, do you have a question?
Thanks, Bhante. I hope that you don't think that my reflection is sacrilegious. But when I think about the horrific tragedy of the world, namely what happened to the Syrian people and what's being discovered in those prisons, and then when we talk about whether there's an itch or whether there isn't an itch, I think, oh my God, I can't believe we're doing this. I can't believe we're doing this. I just get really impatient, Bhante. Really, really impatient. And I don't know how to incorporate the world in the horrific tragedy of what's happening. And I don't know if I'm being clear with you here and now.
I understand
And
what you're
and I
thinking.
don't know. I know I'm interrupting you, and I apologize. But I'm wondering if, and I don't want to minimize anything that you say or you don't say, but I can't bridge the gap between whether we scratch an itch or whether we don't scratch an itch in relation to what's happening in the globe. I just don't know how to breach the gap. I don't know how to do that. And I think I get really impatient when we don't address the world, Bhante. I don't
What
know.
good is it addressing it?
Again, please. Again.
What good is it addressing it? Millions of people are addressing it already. What can you do about it?
Well, I don't think that there's.
Well, anyway, yeah, I don't want to go into this because, it's not, this is about meditation. What happens in the external world, we're talking about what is happening in the internal world, and that's where at least a lot of people are at in their meditation. That's the only thing you can control is what's happening in your mental world. We can't control what's going on in the outer world, unfortunately. I mean, and worrying about it, if you're, thousands of miles away, you can't do anything about it, you're creating this in your mind by holding on to this painful feeling. It's a sensation because it's a thought that's connected with things going on. And maybe, for some people, it's okay, but you have to understand what it's doing in your mind. So, you're coming to the retreat, it's Christmas time, maybe, hopefully if you can.
I think, Bhante.
Anyway, I don't want to go into this anymore right now because we're going to get, it's going to take up our meditation time, and that's really what we want to look at, is the meditation in our own minds at this point. I'm sorry if. Okay, I just want to, let me.
Nisanka has a hands on.
Yeah, the second, I was about to say, yeah, same thing.
What? Oh, Nisanka, you have a.
Second, yeah.
Yes, Bhante. One of the things that came to mind is that you are talking about Vedana, that is a sensation, and you're talking about Vedana coming from bodily sensations. So I believe the Vedana also comes from external sensations through contact. So that also sometimes can affect during meditation. Do we actually separate them, or do we consider they are the same or similar?
No, we understand. I did mention that Vedanas come through all 6 of our senses. So you get a pleasant feeling arising from a sound, Vedana. You get from a visible Vedana, which are vibrations, neurons and cellular vibrations that are moving through the nervous system, creating these kind of sensations. Flavor, odor, taste, and even your thoughts. So yes, you understand how this sensation arises. Okay, if it was a sound, because of sound striking the eardrum, and then it's connected to the object that stimulated it. Then you think about the object, and so you can make those connections, and you see how these Vedana are coming through other senses, alternating. One moment there's a body sensation that takes your attention, and next moment there's a sound. Next moment there's a dry, parched sensation in your throat, or maybe some pain, or they're zipping through our nervous system at a high velocity. And so to observe them is a very, very deep state of concentration. And there's a lot to be more said about it, but that will come only when a person has developed this ability to observe these sensations and understand them as they're coming through in meditation, and allowing you to gain deeper concentration. The reason why we get disturbed in meditation is because we're reacting to these sensations, and it takes us out of the concentration, and then we have to come back and spend more minutes calming back down again. And so that's why it's so important in order to gain concentration, is to understand and not to react to these vibrations that are moving through the body or mind. Otherwise, the mind will constantly be in a state of agitation. Okay, friends, I think we've gone on along. Maybe we can... Did that answer your question, Nisanka?
Yes, that answers my question, but I had a second thing about, and the emotions you said are different, so I understand that.
Yeah, I'll cover those next week.
Okay.
Okay, friends, so let's take a short break and then come back to do a few stretches and some breathing, and then sit down and see if we can make some sense out of all this. Okay. See you back in a few minutes. Okay, friends, so just try to stand straight, relax your arms at the sides, just close your eyes, just try to feel your feet pressing the floor. Try to feel the height and the weight of the body over the feet. Feel your arms and hands hanging at the side. Feel the clothing touching the skin. Feel the head balanced on top. Start to mentally feel that outline of the standing body. And begin some deep, slow breathing. Take 2 or 3 seconds to expand your abdomen, rib cage, and upper chest. Hold the air in the lungs 2 or 3 seconds. And slowly breathe out. Feel the last bit of air go out of the lung. Just takes a few more breaths like that, developing this mindfulness. Of breathing in, letting go of the past and future. Breathing out, standing here and now. Breathing in, letting go of the past and future. Breathing out, standing here and now. Breathing in, feeling the whole body. Breathing out, feeling the whole body. And now we'll combine this breathing with these movements. So again, try to feel the sensations being generated by the breathing and the stretching movements in the body. Make that the main focus of your mindfulness, concentration. So on the next in-breath, raise your arms over the head, interlock the fingers, turn the palms up, straighten your arms, stretch your head back, stretch upwards, feel the sensation. Release your fingers in the out-breath, arms back to the sides. Feel the sensations in the arms and hands. Again, in-breath. Stretch up, bend back a little bit. Feel more sensations in the spine. Out breath. Arms back to the sides. With clothing touching the skin. All sensation. Once more. Stretch up, hold it a little longer, bend back a little more, feel more sensation, painful sensation. Out breath. Try to feel some pleasant sensation from that, all the activated life force, tingling sensation. A lot of pleasant sensations in the body if we know how to feel them. There's always pleasant as well as unpleasant sensations going on. Just letting go of your thoughts. And the next in-breath, lift up on the balls of the feet while raising the arms over the head. Face the hands toward each other, stretch up. Out breath, come back down. Again, in breath. Stretch. Relax. Keep feeling the body. The increased sensations, pulsations, clothing touching the skin, all of those are just vibrations. Just be alert for any pleasant sensations or irritating sensations. And next we'll do side bending using both arms. So next in breath, raise both arms up. And keep your arms and fingers straight, close to the head. Out breath, bend over the right side. In breath, lift up. And the other side, out breath. Feel that stretch in the side. Might be some painful sensation. Lift up, in breath. And the other side. Once more to each side, out breath. Yeah, breath, lower both arms. Just close the eyes, keep feeling the body. Let the mind wander in thought. Just feel so many different sensations you can notice, clothing touching the skin, the heart beating, tingling sensation, itchy, prickly sensation. This body is made up of billions of cells and they all produce sensation. Okay, now spread the legs and feet apart about 3 feet. Hold the arms out to the sides. We'll do the twisting from right to left. So breathe in. On the out breath, twist to the right. Keep your eyes focused on the hand going back. In breath, back to the front. Let your feet turn with the body, then twist to the other side. Out breath. In breath. Keep alternating sides with the breathing, feeling all the different sensation. Constantly changing. Lower the arms. Feel each foot pressing the floor. Feel the clothing touching the skin. Whatever sensations stand out the most, be aware of it. Usually the painful ones will get your attention the most, and the pleasant ones. Now we'll do the forward and backward bending, keeping the legs spread apart. We'll breathe in. On the out breath, bend forward, let the hands come to your kneecaps. Keep the head lifted up, try to flatten the spine, get the hump out of the spine. Keep the legs straight. In breath, lift up. Move the hands under the buttocks for support. Let the head go back. On the out breath, gently bend backwards. Keep your eyes open. Could be a painful sensation if you have a stiff spine. In breath, lift up. And again, out breath, forward. Let the hands come below your knees. Still keep the head lifted up. Keep the legs straight. Feel the extra stretch in the legs. Keep stretching down until you can feel that painful or unpleasant feeling. Stretched muscle. In breath, lift up. The pain disappears. Other sensations come. In the back bend, the again painful sensation. In breath up. On the third time, let the hands come down as far as you can towards your ankles or feet. And hold that longer, feeling that stretch in the hamstring muscles. Let the little bones in the lower spine stretch out. Feel all those stretch sensations. Some painful ones, some pleasant ones, maybe some neutral ones. You lift up on the in-breath. Once more, the back bend on the out-breath. Just be careful. In-breath, lift up. On the out-breath, just relax the shoulders and arms. Start to feel the outline of the whole body. Start to feel those subtle activated life force vibrations. Might be a nice little pleasant feeling with subtle vibrations. Maybe some unpleasant ones interrupting those pleasant sensations. Prickly, itchy sensation. Now bring the legs and feet together. Again, just feel the whole body, present moment, body-centered awareness. We have a front row seat, the multitude of various sensations coming and going. Okay, so try not to interrupt your concentrations. Just mindfully come back to your seat, to the sitting awareness. Friends, get comfortable in the sitting posture. Just following the instructions of the Satipatthana Sutta. Just crossing the legs, keeping the back straight. Just gently close your eyes. Just feel your head balanced on top. From that point on the eyes, just try to feel the general outline of the sitting body. Head on top, arms at the sides, clothing touching the skin, buttocks and feet pressing the floor underneath. Then begin taking a few deep, slow breaths, just mindfully breathing in, mindfully breathing out. Breathing in, know that you're breathing in a long breath. Hold the air 1 or 2 seconds. And breathing out a long breath. Know that you're breathing out a long breath. Let's take several more long breaths. Deep, slow breaths. Holding the air in the lungs 1 or 2 or 3 seconds. Help get concentrated. It's cultivating this basic mindfulness of breathing in, letting go of the past and future. Breathing out, sitting here and now. Breathing in, letting go of the past and future. Breathing out, sitting here and now. Breathing in, feeling the whole body. Breathing out, feeling the whole body. Now we're going to be counting our breaths from 1 to 10 to develop a more continuous concentration on the breathing. I'll do the counting for you. Just try to follow that with your breathing and concentration. So with the next expanding in breath, mentally count to 1. Hold the breath 1 or 2 seconds. With the contracting out breath, also count to 1. Feel the last bit of air go out of the lung. The next in breath, 2. Out breath, 2. In 3. Out 3. In 4. Out 4. In 5. Out 5. In 6. Out 6. In 7. Out 7. in 8, out 8, in 9, out 9, in 10, out 10. Now discontinue the counting. Just let the breathing return to its uncontrolled, short, irregular rhythm. But continue to feel it, to observe it. However the breath might go, might become more shorter. Try to be like a scientist looking down through a microscope, observing an experiment. Just train the attention like looking down through a microscope to notice the subtler, shorter, expanding and contracting sensation. All those sensations of breathing. Expanding in breath in the brief pause. Contracting out the breath in the brief pause. All those sensations of the breathing are constantly changing. Even while noticing the breathing, be able to notice other sensations in the body, in the background, coming and going. Clothing touching the skin, the sensations on your face. Start to constantly just remembering the present moment, breathing in, sitting, breathing out, sitting. Especially with each out breath, just allow the body and mind to relax more and more into the present moment, becoming centered in the body. Feeling all those different sensations. Breathing sensations are there in the center, but all around it other sensations. Clothing touching the skin, pulsations, so many different body sensations. Especially be alert how some sensations attract your attention, especially the irritating ones, like little prickly sensations or itches, arising aches or pain. Breathing in, sitting. Breathing out, sitting. In this breathing body, there are billions of cells constantly interacting with each other through contact, producing all these different sensations or vibrations. Try to make that the main focus of your body-centered awareness. Breathing is always there in the center, all around it. Other sensations coming and going, trying to attract our attention. Be aware when the mind tries to identify sensations as being a specific object, part of your body. Or any thoughts connected with any sensation. Desire, aversion, worry, fear. Stay alert, awake, breath by breath, moment by moment. Try to turn up the power of the mental microscope to notice more subtler sensations, subtler unpleasant sensations, or subtler pleasant sensations. Being alert to any thoughts coming and going in the back of the mind, also painful thoughts or pleasant thoughts. Those are also producing sensation, mental sensations. Get yourself lost in thoughts, recognize it as lost. Take a deep, slow breath, bring the mind back into the body, back to the front row seat of the flow of sensation. Take a few deep, slow breaths, three-part breaths to help stay centered, awake in the present moment, feeling more and more sensation, their nature of constant change, arising, lasting a moment, vanishing. You can't predict where they'll come. They come out of nowhere, vanishing to nowhere. And the meditator understands that these sensations exist just for the purpose of gaining insight and knowledge, knowing what effect they have on our mind to create suffering. Breathing in, sitting. Breathing out, sitting. So many different sensations constantly coming and going. Pleasure, pain, come and go. Perceptions, thoughts, reactions come and go. Whole world revolves around pleasant and painful sensations. People getting addicted to pleasurable sensations, having aversion, hatred for painful sensations. Creating all kinds of karma based around sensations and the objects of sensations produce. Understanding the outer tangle of the worldly objects and the inner tangle of the mind's reaction, likes and dislikes. It's not understanding this truth about the mind. Mind keeps going on and on and on to the rounds of birth and death. Okay, now let's shift our attention for this last few minutes of the meditation and cultivating metta, friendliness, kindness, best wishes for ourselves and all other beings, knowing that the whole world, the conditioned world, is trapped in a vicious cycle of craving for pleasurable feelings, hatred for painful feelings. All the sufferings of the world are tied up in that pleasure-pain syndrome, clinging. Just take a few more deep, slow breaths. Contemplate that in yourself and in the larger outer world. Just cultivating these thoughts. May I be well, peaceful and wise, free from attachment and greed, anger and hatred, toward be free from the self-created pains and sufferings of body and mind due to this being trapped in the web of sensation. May I have the patience, strength, mindfulness, and wisdom to meet and overcome all difficulties in life. May I continue to be able to deepen my understanding of the Dhamma and the practice of meditation to help free the mind from confusion and self-created suffering. May I be well, peaceful, and wise. Now, in a more general way, you can contemplate all the problems that exist in the external world, crimes, even the wars that are going on, the greed for more and more land, whatever other causes for wars. Just wishing that, sending these same metta thoughts to all these people that are caught in that web of suffering. With each out breath, thinking, may all living beings, wherever they might be, living near or far away, rich or the poor, weak or the strong, famous or the obscure, may all living beings be well, happy, and peaceful, free from greed, hatred, fear, and ignorance. May they be free from the self-created sufferings of body and mind due to such unskillful thoughts, speech, and actions, due to karmic interactions with others. May all beings have the patience, strength, mindfulness, and wisdom to meet and overcome all difficulties in life. May all beings have the opportunity to hear the teachings of the Dhamma, to learn and practice meditation, to help free the minds from greed, hatred, and delusion. May all beings be able to live peacefully and harmoniously together, understanding the ultimate interconnectedness and interdependence of all things. May all beings be well, peaceful, and wise. Just like a mantra reverberating throughout space. Well, peaceful, and wise. Now I invite you to join and finish this meditation by chanting the word sadhu 3 times slowly. We do that chanting on a long out breath to feel those vibrations in the body and mind. So take a deep breath. Breathe. Breathe. Place the hands at the edge of your knees. Take one deep breath as you breathe in. Stretch your head back. Pull the hands against the knees. You arch your spine. Feel the sensation. And lift the head up on an in-breath. On the out-breath, press the chin to the top of the chest. Stretch the neck vertebrae. Lift the chin up level on an in-breath. And relax on the out-breath. Put a smile on your face. Okay, friends, so I hope you're able to have some periods of some calm, peaceful awareness, some good awareness or insights into the nature of the body and mind, the nature of all the different sensations that are constantly coming through our body and mind, and how our world is created from those, especially in this holiday period. All the things going on, celebrations, also all the other tragic things happening in the world. But really the only thing we can control in the world is our own mind, really. The way we react, the way we think. Okay, so until we meet again, be well, be safe, be mindful, be wise. Namo Buddhaya.
Namo Buddhaya. Bhante, thank you. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Thank you, Bhante.
Thank you, Bhante.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Bhante.
Happy holidays.
Happy
Thank
holidays.
you. Happy holidays.
Wednesday, hopefully, to find out when our retreat starts.
All right.
I'll let you know if we have any, decide to record or broadcast any of the retreats, retreat.
Please do.
Okay,
Thank you, Bhante.
mindfulness today keeps dukkha away.